Yes, I got one. There you go. Thank you. We're good.
All right. So we'll call this meeting to order at 6:04. Do roll call.
Denny Mariola,
Here.
Rick Charles, Dennis Campbell.
Here.
Nancy Binzel.
Here.
Janice Arch.
Here.
Christy Setz. And Amy Jones.
All right. So we'll go on to approval of the minutes. So we have minutes from February 12th, 2025. So any revisions to the minutes?
I move that they be approved.
Second.
Amy is here now. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, next up is discussion on Article 19 amendments to the charter.
Yes, all right. So, at the last meeting, the commission said that they wanted to look at Article 19 and Article 20. Does everyone have their copy of their charter and have the section 19 up?
Yep.
All right, as you can see, it's a relatively brief section, so I'm assuming everyone had the opportunity to read it before the meeting. So essentially, and here's, tell me if this is not how you want it, but I think we start off, I give a kind of rundown of what that section says, what it means, if there's like legalese in there, just to kind of get us all in the right frame of mind to discuss and see if there's anything that we want to. And then if the commission has changes they would like to see, they give it to my department. We'll whip up some drafts and then present them at the next meeting. And then we can go from there. And also, and I think this is more for at the other part of discussion about how the commission wants to present these. Do they want to do one big bulk report to council at the end? Do they want to do them as they come across? That way, if there are rejections or changes made, they can be brought back and do it again. It's entirely up to the commission. I want to keep that cognizant as we're moving forward, that those are multiple ways we can move forward. So having said all that, we'll move to Article 19, amendments to the charter. As you can see, there are essentially two ways that the charter can be amended, and one of the two ways has two different ways that they can get there. But the two ways are 5 members of council vote in favor of putting it on the ballot, or a petition of the electors of 10% of the previous election. So that would mean, say this year, if you wanted to put a petition on, you're getting 10% of last year's general election of the entire city. I don't have that number right now, but it fluctuates every year because presidential years and midterm elections have more than off-year city council races. So those are the two ways. And where I say that there are two ways within those two ways, and that's the Charter Review Commission in the next section. But as you can see, those are the two ways currently. And then the section where it says adoption, this is the main part of that is it becomes affirmative on the majority vote of the people, unless there are two conflicting pieces of, and that's what that second section is there. And you might recall, I want to say it was 2 years ago, there were two conflicting charter amendments on term limits and how they read. Both of them actually got a majority of the vote, but one got more of a majority, so that one became the actual charter amendment. The other one didn't. And then the section where it says changes to the charter, that means that if something were to be determined unconstitutional by either the United States Supreme Court or the Ohio Supreme Court, we don't have to go to the ballot to get that changed. The law director is able to make that change, and then upon unanimous approval by council and the mayor signing off, we strike that from the charter. So that is Article 19 in a nutshell and how it reads right now. So I don't know if you guys want to have a discussion about it or just ask questions, that sort of thing. It's your meeting, Mr. Campbell.
So what happened in 2020, with the, charter stating they wanted to change the way the charter review and charter amendments are submitted. Would that have to do with this section?
Yes, so, and that was kind of, did everyone get the spreadsheet I made? Does anyone need a copy of it right now? I printed off copies. So these are, and I went a little bit further than the mandate that Charter Review gave me, because there were other things in off-year election. There were petitions and there were city council initiated ones. I included those as well, just so you got the full context of what type of charter amendments came. So Ms. Jones was bringing up the fact of it was, what section was it? Yeah. Yes. So I believe that was clarifying, and I can pull the ordinance and actually print it out for all of you tonight, and we could have before we leave. But I believe that one was they changed they were changing this. So we can real quick, as you guys are having the discussion, I can run upstairs and print it real quick, the actual ordinance. And that's the other thing too. If you guys have questions and want to see the actual text of this, please let me know and I'll print off and get all of you those copies. I just wanted you guys to have the actual spreadsheet in case there was something you wanted to dive into more. So I can go get those real quick while you guys are having your discussion. All right?
Thank you.
6. Making sure I'm making the right amount of copies. You want a copy too?
Other discussion or questions on this one? Before it comes back. The only thing I had was a question on, the section of at least one outside legal counsel. How is that counsel selected? How is that, is it just, they can choose anyone, or is it, there's a list of approved or people that the city's already contracted with? It's approved by council. That's my only question, is making sure that we have that. So I'll wait for Drew to come back and ask that question of him.
I think that's interesting. If it's been declared unconstitutional and say somebody on city council refuses to support it, then what happens? I would assume then we're just set up for a
I think
lawsuit.
Drew can just change it if it's unconstitutional. It's saying the law director can make
Only,
unanimous resolution.
I mean, and approval by the, he can't just do it, so
Right.
it's a way of doing this without voters, but it still has to be unanimous by the mayor and the council. And so I'm just kind of wondering what happens, say you've got one holdout.
Yeah.
And I guess then we're just open to a lawsuit, a legal challenge that our statute is unconstitutional for the such and such case. You know how lawyers speak, so.
So if it's been deemed unconstitutional, it can't be enforceable, so whatever section in it can't be enforced, so it's probably just dead language in the charter at that point, but he would.
Right.
I'm gonna ask the lawyer,
Well, I'm the lawyer, right?
not the assumption over here.
How many people are on council?
7. 4 wards, 3 out of 6. We just have one person being a contrarian. Not that that's happened or anything, but
It's just good to understand what happens if it does. That's a really good question.
not as good as yours.
It's thoughtful. That's the important part, is that we're approaching this thoughtfully, so.
It's the word of the day. It's been thoughtful.
question too.
We came up with more questions for you.
Perfect.
You run upstairs and get
I am constantly up and down these stairs all day, so yes, I can.
Just install a printer in here.
Just bring one down. Our meetings. So while I was copying these, I took a look, and it looks like what the Charter Review Commission proposed last time was to strike out the ability for council to change the charter whenever they wanted. The only way the charter could be changed would be through charter review and the 10% petitions. So, and that did not, as you can see, council did not approve that to put that on the ballot. So that was the change that was talked about by charter review last time. What other questions did you guys come up with?
How is outside legal counsel in that section chosen?
It doesn't say, but what I will say, there is another provision of the charter that anytime we have outside legal counsel, city council has to approve it. So normally how we would choose that is the law department would go out, solicit, propose it, and then bring it to city council. And city council would have to approve it, but nothing stops city council from going on their own and finding their own legal counsel.
I just wanted to know if there was just a list or an approved list or anything like that. So
No,
the fact that it has to go out for approval, that makes complete sense.
yeah, it's legal counsel is a little different than other contracting. And if you ever want a primer on contracting with the city, there's a whole section of our codifieds about it. But legal counsel is a little different in that even if we are not expending funds, if we have pro bono legal service, I have to go get approval from city council before we actually hire them. The exception to that is insurance. If our insurance selects something, it doesn't have to get approval. It's already deemed approved because it was based on the contract that a council approved.
Okay. And my question was, as far as, a Supreme Court ruling comes down and you want to change it, you've got to have unanimous approval of council and the mayor. What happens if you've got one holdout?
I would hate to say that I would write a legal opinion saying that we should not follow this provision. And then depending on the type of provision, there are also legal mechanisms called mandamus actions where you might be familiar with them, but
No, not really, but okay.
So a mandamus action is basically saying there is a valid court order somewhere or a valid order to do something, and you're asking a court to force an elected official or public official to do something.
Okay.
So an example is say we get a court order, we lose a lawsuit and they're saying pay out this amount of money and we just refuse to pay it.
Well,
you can't garnish the government, you can't, that sort of some of the remedies that you would have in court.
Mhm.
So your remedy is you go to another court and say, court, make them do this. And then you get a court order, it's a mandamus action, and you're told to do it. I haven't done the legal research, but that might be a remedy is I go to the Court of Common Pleas or Court of Appeals and say, mandamus action, order council to approve this unanimously, and then do it that way. Again,
right,
totally hypothetical,
exactly.
but it's something we'd have to research.
Any other comments, questions on this? And I think that they may want to suggest changes to this.
I don't necessarily like the 5 or more since there are 7 people on council, but seeing that it did not pass last time, I'm a little hesitant to suggest that change.
But yeah, it's more than
two-thirds.
majority, so it's 2/3, yeah.
Okay.
So it still protects against completely challenging. I think it's necessary at certain points for the council to be able to put changes outside of the Charter Review Commission process, or because it's important that we remain flexible as a government to do what is necessary. So.
And you will see, it's used fairly often too, to correct these issues.
Yeah.
So.
Is that common? That like the council can initiate their own?
Every city's different. And that's part of like, when we go into Article 20, each charter review commission system is different as well.
Yeah.
Some mandate that say what charter review says goes on. You know, it's entirely there's no rhyme or reason to it. In fact, there was actually I sent out, or I had Hannah send out the link to it. There was like a training
Yeah,
that was
the
available.
webinar.
Yeah, a webinar about charter review commissions and how to handle them. You see, they're used all the way across the country, and there's no real rhyme or reason, or like this is the standard or best practice.
I was logged into that and just kind of listening on the side, but also like reading through everyone's comments to see like how different everybody's are was crazy.
And that's across the United States.
Right.
Imagine just the differences within the county as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other discussion on 19? No. You always come back to it too if we need to have this conversation. So, do you want to take us through 20?
Yeah, 2020 Charter Review Commission, first section right there, happens every 5 years. And 7 members are appointed by the mayor. As you guys all know, you can't hold another office or sit on another commission within the city. You're appointed by the mayor and then confirmed by council. And then it also has a provision that council can determine that there is a special need for it outside of the every 5 years. Second thing, the duties, you have to have your meetings open to the public. You have to review the charter, and then no later of August 1, you provide your recommendation to council for amendments. And then the 2/3, they approve it and send it to the ballot. One thing I will point out, I had a comment from our council clerk saying that she's interested in you guys looking at that deadline of August 1, because the deadline for the Board of Elections. So basically what happens, here's the process. You guys will present your charter amendments to council and say, we would like to put this on the ballot. They will vote on it. They have to take it 3 readings and then pass it. And if they pass it, then they forward it to the Board of Elections. They have to have it into the Board of Elections 60 days before an election. That timeline this year is September 5th. So, and the complicating thing, and the reason she wants to bring it up, is there is 1 meeting scheduled in August. So there is no way to do 3 readings on the current schedule. That's not to say council can't schedule additional meetings to meet that timeline. It's just in the regular course of business. She's saying it might be a good idea to look at the timeline or the deadline and say, maybe bring it back to make sure we're meeting Board of Election deadlines as well. So just something that she threw out there as a comment.
In a normal year, is there only 1 meeting in August?
I can't say there's a normal year. It's just
generality, yeah. Like last year.
Last year, there was only 1 meeting in August as well.
That's
Right,
just
because
good
it's
reference, yeah.
summer and in
Yeah.
It's
the
just good
sense.
reference information to know where, if it's just an issue this year or if it's gonna be a consistent issue in the future.
And what I'll say too is some councils take, like when I was on Cuyahoga Falls City Council, we took August off. There was just no meetings, and that was our August recess.
Right.
County council will frequently take a summer recess as
Right.
well. That's July or August.
Right.
It really depends. So it's not outside the realm
Right.
that there's only 1 meeting in August or no meetings in August. Just this year and last year, it fell that
There's
way.
only 1 meeting in July too, FYI.
Oh,
I
good.
just pulled up the calendar.
Okay.
So maybe going back to your first point of if we find things and as we go,
Yeah.
maybe it would behoove us to send them along sooner instead of waiting until the end.
I was gonna say, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I will say I might have to do a bit of research before the next meeting on Board of Elections, because there are limits of how early you can send something to the Board of Election. So it might be like, if they say it's between 60 and 120 days, we might have to wait until, do a big dump at the beginning of the summer of like 4 or 5, and then as we're working forward, and then do another one closer towards the deadline. We might have to do that. So let me make sure I make a note of that to research it, but that's just something else to consider.
Do our proposed changes have to go through committee, or does it go directly to the whole council?
It will go to committee as a whole.
Just in terms of timeline?
Yeah.
Sure.
And just, and Council Herman can cut me off if I'm speaking out of turn here, but frequently we'll bring it up in committee and then it's brought to council that same night.
So internally, right now, obviously, because the policy is, the law says, the charter says August 1st, but we should probably be working on a July 1st
Right.
timeline. So, 'cause no matter what, even if there's only one July meeting scheduled right now, we're gonna need an extra meeting called at some point, so it's better to just
Start
have it
earlier.
done,
Yeah.
yeah.
I even wonder if we should make it June 1st going forward.
Target
It
right
might be
around.
better to be June 1st.
That way it gives us also a little bit of buffer. If something gets sent back to us, we have some adjustment time.
Right.
Exactly.
And it
That's not-
does.
Yeah.
It eliminates, knowing what we know if we do July 1st, they're gonna have to add a special meeting. So knowing that, we'd be wiser and more,
Try to get ahead, yeah.
well, and more responsible
Yeah.
to not put them in that position. So,
And to make sure to have a full council.
yeah. Yep. We're not trying to play games with them. And I don't mind if it makes us have to work a little bit faster. I mean, I don't think this is that overwhelming. I mean, it's important, but it's very doable to do 3 to 4 month period.
So maybe we should target June 1 for our work. I would suggest we probably should have a discussion of changing this, knowing to at least July 1, so it still gives that same room for future commissions to make their own decision on it.
Would the Charter Review Commission then like to see an amendment for the next meeting, a proposed change? Look like, the easy change is just changing the date. It's not gonna be a big work, big haul for the law department to come up with that for you guys, but.
Do we need a motion? I move that we change that in the charter that the date be changed to July 1st instead of August 1st.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
All right, we will present that at the next meeting, have that for you.
Ooh, we keep up with
We
them.
did.
All right, any questions on this, on Article 20?
Surprised, no one said that they wanted to change that to serve without compensation. You guys don't want to get paid? Kidding, I just.
Through being in your presence is compensation.
Oh, thank you.
Do I understand the 2/3 is for council, like, obviously it's council initiated. Do you know why it's 2/3 or when it was changed, if it was changed to 2/3 when it's commission? Because I figure like if they're paying already trusting a commission to move forward on something and work on something, they should trust with a simple majority of the commission for those amendments to go forward. I'm just wondering if there's a history to it or a reason why, or is it just legacy? It's always been that way. I don't know.
To let the electors have at it.
Yeah, like even if it's a simple majority, the council says, yeah, we should put this forward in those situations because you've paneled a special commission for this purpose.
Yeah, I don't have a history on that or a rationale. I can tell you that it was amended back in 2000.
Okay.
This was part of the discussion that led to the lawsuit in 2020, which if anybody wants a copy of that, I can send you what the Supreme Court said. It's all public record anyway. But essentially, the commission made some change or suggested some changes. Council amended them and then voted them down. And then the commission tried to force, through a mandamus action actually, to force the council to put it on the agenda, or put it on the ballot. And the Supreme Court ruled against the Charter Review Commission, saying the charter specifically says it requires the acquiescence of 5 votes of council. So
I was just trying to understand the history of it because it's just, yeah, if council's already at least a simple majority and I get it, but yeah. So,
Yeah, is that a state law or is it any,
no, it's our charter.
right? So we could say just only one has to approve it if we wanted to.
You-
And the voters approved it, blah, 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 blah.
We'd have to change a lot in the charter to change it to just one vote because there are
Yeah.
other provisions
Yeah.
got
about.
it, yeah,
but yeah.
but still, it's very hypothetical,
Mhm.
so. I think, I mean,
But I would say there had to be something that did, because the difference between a simple majority
right,
and 2/3, something had to be driving that.
If council or if the charter review commission would like me to, I can pull this amendment and find out, and I could even pull meeting minutes to find out if there was what council justified. I'm happy to do that for the next
it's a
meeting.
difference of one vote, but
It's still one vote. It's
No,
goes from
well,
a,
that's what I
yeah,
mean, it's
simple
like,
majority to a,
it's only one vote, so why was it changed just for that one more vote?
That's my question.
Yeah,
In-
that's something's,
I'll tell you too, that actually shows up a couple times in the charter as we go through. Another big example of that is, so normally to approve something through council, you only need 4 votes because it's a simple majority. However, the caveat to that, and it's in the charter, that if planning commission recommends something and council goes against that recommendation, it requires 5 votes, not just a simple majority to override that. So that could be if the planning commission gives a negative recommendation or a recommendation on not passage, it would require 5 votes to change. If they amend it and like say, and we just saw this with the cannabis, adult use cannabis facilities, there was an amendment to that, what planning commission recommended. It then needed 5 votes because they changed or differed from what planning commission recommended. So this isn't an isolated instance that requires 5 votes or a supermajority on certain things.
but it's the
the
opposite.
opposite. Yeah, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Where you're going against the commission that you paneled versus the panel that you
Going with.
commissioned.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I will.
Like, just
I
a
can pull
little
that history.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Just to better understand where thoughts were
Yeah.
of council at that time.
I'm glad you brought that up, I wouldn't.
Yep. I'll pull the all the history on that one. I like getting homework from the Charter Review Commission.
It gives us a sense of power.
You haven't seen anything yet.
I was gonna say, these are 2 fairly innocuous provisions in the charter.
Definitely not a sense of power, just a curious interest in my.
Speak for yourself. Okay.
All right, so any other discussion points on that article?
Is that something we can come back to if we want to address going back to a simple
Yeah.
majority or maintaining it as 2/3?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to see what's behind that.
Any other discussion
Thanks
on
for
20?
So what are we gonna work on for next? Oh, I'm sorry, it's your meeting.
It's fine.
Have
Have
it.
a name on a committee. So we have to choose our next meeting time and then we can check our next section. So let's see when at least the 5 of us that are here are available, because that's all we can really do is based off of who's in the room at the time. And I do, based off of what, we're obviously kicking Drew some homework already, but then in 2 small sections, I would definitely go back, trust Rick's suggestion that we meet a little more often at the beginning, and then we can, especially with the condensed timeline that we have now, that we have to, so.
Self-imposed
Yeah.
condensed
Yes,
timeline. I will
all right,
point
yep, that's fine.
Either that or we need to do more work in one meeting, so.
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
go either way. Either way.
So, all right. Any issues with next week at all for anyone?
Wednesday, I'm not available.
Okay.
You can meet without me.
Council meets on the 6th. I'll just point that out. Nothing.
Well, we knew
I was
that,
gonna say,
yeah.
no.
6 is the one day that I can't do anything.
Monday's good.
Monday, I can't do
Monday's my
Monday.
birthday.
Oh, happy birthday!
I enjoy you all's company, but
Yeah,
I'd
exactly.
rather not be here.
Monday, I'm on a panel at the University of Akron, so that's not.
I can work
There.
on Tuesday. Dum-dums.
So that leaves us with the only other day of the week is Friday.
Friday.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you can meet Wednesday, I mean, don't, what?
Or Monday.
Right. It's,
Obviously we don't.
Yeah, Monday I can't, Monday
Well,
will be too
Oh,
late,
you,
so,
yeah.
and it's bad if you're not here. Well, not that you can't say.
Do we wanna, well, Wednesday, just put it out there, it's Ash Wednesday in case anyone observes, if there's any issues with Wednesday. We can always do Wednesday and then start. Okay. Let's do Wednesday then.
Okay, 6 o'clock again?
Yep.
Like this.
Question, do we have to do 6?
Mhm.
I don't know, like, are you guys here all day and then just stay? Like, I don't wanna make it.
I
Also getting here at 6 is.
I live 7 minutes from here, so
Okay.
it's very easy for me to get
I would
here.
imagine we all live pretty close.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you all have to live in Stow.
Yes,
and
yes.
I have to live
Coming
in
from
Stow.
work is the thing, but I
Is
don't
it-
know, even just.
Is it
like
more
6
difficult to get here at 6, or are you saying?
Later would be like 6:30, but I don't know how everybody feels about that.
I'm indifferent, I work in Kent, so it only takes me like 10 minutes to get here, so it's not, and go home and eat dinner before I come to that would be nice. Before I come here, so, yeah, 6:30 is fine.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, 6:30 on the 5th.
And the room's
Alright.
open, so.
All right, so now we gotta tell Drew what we would like to, like, what we would like some information on. So I'm just thinking that it might be helpful for us to choose, even if we don't do all of it, to at least get, like, is it okay for us to put more than things, and if we get slowed down and we decide to stop, we can stop?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I would just be prepared for overloading in case like tonight, we've only taken 36 minutes, and if we had 3 more things, we could have powered through until we said we were done.
Right.
So I'd rather overload the agenda and then not get to everything, so that way we have stuff on the agenda that we can actually address.
I agree.
Absolutely.
So do we just want to start from the top and work our way down
Sure.
then? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just have Drew ready with all
Yep.
those.
Mhm.
Those are, especially 3 and 4 are meaty, so.
Yeah, I'll say one
Yeah.
is pretty easy.
Yeah, one's a pretty easy process, but yeah, just so that we were ready just in case and we can get through some of them, so.
And I will also have, I'll have a response on the maximum amount of time it takes that we're allowed to send something to the Board of Elections. And I will also pull the history on, Article 20 when it was changed for the submission of the voter section.
Nancy, did you have something?
Yeah, can I email you?
Mhm.
Cause I'll go through stuff and I can. That would be
Absolutely.
great. What's your email?
Dennis Campbell, 87@gmail.com.
87?
Yes, at Gmail.
It's really easy.
I do have a roster with everyone's name, address, and email and phone number. If everyone's comfortable, I can share it to everybody, and then you have everybody's contact information.
Fine.
I just didn't want to send it without asking prior.
No, it's fine.
And also, just as we're going through, I sent this out before to everybody, this spreadsheet that has all of the charter amendments over the last 10 years. If anybody has any question on any of those, I will also prepare. I see on here that there are 2 that pertain to Section 3 and some that pertain to Section 4. I will have those ready as well, so we'll have those ones, just so you can see the history of what those were. But if you see any others on this list that you're also interested in, please let me know ahead of time so I can have those. And also, if the Charter Review Commission would like it, I can go back another 10 years to see the previous 2 as well. It's just Rick asked for the last 2 charter reviews, and then I added in all the other council initiated ones. So just let me know. Again, my department's here to assist you guys.
Thank you, Drew, for being proactive with that piece. So I'm having those items ready, because I have a feeling that we'll ask a lot of questions about some of the history of things, so.
Yeah.
So it's better to be prepared rather than make you run steps.
Yeah, that's fun. We get to learn history together.
Yeah.
I wasn't here either for the last charter review.
All right, any other items to discuss? All right. Cool.
Do you allow public comment?
What's the process for public comment?
What I would say is if it's something you want to allow, I would just add it onto the agenda for the next meeting after other items. You can also, because if Mr. Herman wants to make it, you are allowed to let him make it. There's nothing
I
stopping.
just want to make sure, because I saw on the bottom here the questions, comments. I don't know if that was our public comment or just.
Yeah, no, it's,
Do we need to amend the agenda to have his comment or not?
Does it
no,
fall
it's-
under the other section?
You can
Okay.
have it
Yeah,
fall
that's
under
fine.
the other.
Good question.
Well,
Yep.
Yeah,
history.
Yeah.
so-
yeah, I know, like, there are also different bodies that treat it differently.
Yeah.
I think it falls under the other section,
Cool.
and we can just make sure that Hannah will add it to the agenda from now on, so that we have a section for it, all right?
I have to do this, correct?
Yes, you
Yeah,
do.
all right.
You can just
Please-
pick one of the three.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Kyle Herman, 3652 Highwood Avenue, Stowe.
You solemnly declare and affirm that you are about to say shall be the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Hi, in addition to being a member of council, I just wanted to come here as a citizen who is interested in the charter review process. In my day job, I actually help to advise other charter review commissions and I visit city councils. I actually visited Hudson's Charter Review Commission last Wednesday as personal capacity, but also I am weird in that I am really interested in civic engagement. My first 2 years out of college, I taught high school history and civics. And for the past 10 years, I've been working in different capacities, grappling with this problem of global democratic backsliding and this feeling that people are less civically engaged than we used to be, that our social contract has weakened, and trying to figure out what can we do to help strengthen that at the local level. And so I see the Charter Review Commission as a potential avenue to do that. And so I'm curious if the commission would, like, what you all would be interested in doing in order to increase civic engagement in this process. There are some things that other charter review commissions have done, such as formally having a public comment period in the meetings, where the other where the other is, for instance, you could add that to the agenda. Or others have had sort of like town halls to seek ideas from the broader public or to present preliminary recommendations and get feedback. And this past week, I watched a webinar by the National Civic League on how to make charter review commissions more inclusive of public input in order to try to have democracy innovations. Because this is your charter review commission, and like the purpose is for you as citizens to decide, but there are ways that you could also seek input from the broader public, in addition to the one that is already on the agenda about adding comments.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. You're saying that there's other charter reviews that welcome town hall meetings and whatever. Would that be more of a part of city council doing than it would be us?
It could be, but the commission itself does have that authority.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I agree with what Kyle's saying. I've had people come up to me and talk to, like, Kyle mentioned I was in charter and at a meeting I was at, and I've had some people come up to me and ask me if things can be changed, and like I will try my best, but our meetings are also open to the public, so please feel free to come and make comment.
How is, in relation to that, and you might have said this in the last meeting, but I assume our meeting is posted on like the city
Yep.
website, okay?
Yep. Yeah,
Do
we
they
put-
like promote it anywhere on social media?
I don't think we have. We can, if that's something that the commission would like us to start doing regular blasts. I could talk to our Parks Department. Our Parks Department handles all of our
Yeah.
public relations.
Yeah, just to,
It's not gonna hurt anything. If anything, it's gonna benefit.
right.
Yeah.
People will know that there is somebody.
We'll talk to Parks tomorrow. Yep, we'll start.
Especially since, because I was at the council meeting where, everyone voted us in and the mayor said specifically, like, there were 7 people who applied and that's the 7, that got in. So obviously it's not like a highly sought after, people are sending in applications. And I think it's just like, people don't know. And to your point, aren't engaged, in things like this. People are looking, I think, to separate, politics and everything else. So, I also agree with everything you said, and it would be nice to maybe get a little bit more visibility for what.
Especially without a newspaper, in an article that's saying the Charter Review Commission so far is blah, 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 blah. It's just, it's out of sight, out of mind, so.
And we're also, I during my report at council, I reported on the meeting that you guys had and that we were having an upcoming meeting for this one.
Yeah.
So I will continue to do that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we'll absolutely talk about how we can strengthen, spread the net a little bit further.
Definitely.
Well, I think there's a good chance for us when it comes time, we have some items, as we get some, maybe when we find out a little bit more about the board of elections process, we get a chunk of them, we can hold town halls, or we can engage people a little bit differently. In that, like, as we've written and say, hey, what's your feedback on this proposal that we feel comfortable proposing, get feedback and then do some revisions from there too. So,
I'd rather hear it from the people of Stowe, if they like it or not like it, rather than it go to council and somebody stands up in council and says, no, I don't want, we just wasted all our time. If we could find that information out first.
Yeah.
If there's no support or if there's
Exactly.
real strong opposition, then.
Not to say that we have to change anything we're doing, but I'd rather hear it here first.
And we can do those in council chamber as well to accommodate a bigger crowd
Yeah.
than what we would have in here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
any other business? All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Well, you said that awful quick.
I'll mess around.
Let's get out of here.